RNC Research. Utah District Attorney Jeff Gray confirms that Charlie Kirk's assassin became more radicalized to the left over the past year. So let's give this a watch if it will let me. Actually, here, let me just refresh real quick. Apparently, I accidentally hit the video, so just brief minor technical difficulties. It's all right. It's the top one, so here we go. All right, let's rock and roll.
Robinson's mother explained that over the
loud.
last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders.
Yeah, because that's of course it's something a right winger would do, dating transgenders, and yeah, I mean, like, obviously that's not something that the right does. I mean, I'm assuming that the left knows that. You would think they would know that. So just further confirmation that he was indeed radicalized by the left, not an extreme right winger, not any sympathizer of any extreme right winger or anything like that. Which, of course, we're going to get all this information out in the court hearing or in the trial. Of course, that could be, I don't know, it could be a year and a half from now, or it could be 5 or 6 years from now. Hopefully it's better, or be more sooner than later. And all of this is going to come out in testimony in the trial. Every single thing that the mainstream media is going to lie about between now and then, trying to paint him as some extreme right winger, wearing a Trump shirt that they photoshopped, a bunch of bullshit. Because the Democratic Party is in absolute chaos right now. They're completely in full-on collapse. I just read today that the voter registrations for people joining the Republican Party over the last 6 days has multiplied by 4 times. There's 4 times the amount of people who are registering to become Republicans over the last 6 days than typical. So an absolute explosion in people jumping into the Republican Party, and also a lot of people leaving the Democrat Party. I heard #WalkAway has also exploded in popularity again, which, if you remember back in the late 2010s, right around when Trump won his first term, that was a real popular hashtag that was going around for a while with people who were once Democrats, and they started seeing the real world for what it is, and they just jumped from one party over to the other. So, all right, anyway, so this is from ABC News Politics. FBI Director Kash Patel breaks down the timeline of the agency's investigation into the killing of Charlie Kirk and the arrest of suspect Tyler Robinson. Let's give this a watch.
This FBI is transparent as possible without jeopardizing investigations. Charlie Kirk was shot at 12:23 p.m. on September 10th. I think this timeline is critically important. Less than a day later, the FBI, at my direction, released the first set of images of the suspect that we captured based on our analysis on the ground. Later that evening, while conducting extensive interviews and cell phone analysis, and also flying out evidence response teams and hostage rescue teams and evidence tacticians who were collecting evidence in live time and flying them back to Washington, D.C. in our laboratories for immediate analyses, we were able to extract video from the campus feed, and at my direction at 8 p.m., in partnership and promise to working with the public to bring this fugitive to justice, we released a newly, never before seen video of the suspect. We also released new enhanced photos of the suspect. A few hours later, that suspect was in custody, pursuant to the interrogation of the suspect's own father, who stated, "When I saw that video that you released, I recognized it was my son, and I confronted him, and he was handed over to lawful law enforcement authorities." That is the FBI working with the public, as I promised, being transparent and providing critical information along the way in the manhunt for the suspect and suspects involved in Charlie's assassination. We received over 11,000 tips in the first 24 hours alone. We received 16,000 submissions to our digital media enterprise and tip lines. That is a large number of material to go through. I want to thank President Trump and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, for their unwavering support and commitment of resources to this and all investigations. I also want to especially thank our colleagues in Utah, the Governor's Office, DPS, and the sheriffs out there. State and local law enforcement partnership has been a cornerstone since I took over at the FBI, and it was no different here. And our teams in Salt Lake City, our SACs out there across the country, our lab technicians in Quantico who raced to complete the evidence analysis so the public could have the answers they need. These people worked through the night without sleep for days on end. They are to be commended. They are not to be attacked. and many, many, many more people I don't have time to thank here today. But I do want to thank the American people especially. The mission of the FBI is for them and with them and by, with, and through them. And it's that mission and that ethos that I brought to this investigation and so many others, and that's why that suspect is in custody. We cannot do our job without the American public and credible reporting in the media, and that's why Tyler Robinson is in custody today, about to face charges.
Well, and I heard on social media, not really from politicians, but just from regular people, that they were pushing back against the FBI because it took them 12 hours to show up, and they didn't really start investigating until many hours after the fact, and it took them like the better part of a day to get the images out. And meanwhile, this deranged killer could have been out going on a killing spree while the FBI is taking their sweet time to show up and start investigating. But dude, Utah has police. They've got a police department in the local area. They've got sheriff's departments in the local area. They had cops on the ground and they let them go. Fuck, like, don't be pointing fingers at the FBI. Point fingers at the local law enforcement, if anything. I mean, look, the FBI, they got there as soon as they could get there. But you've got on the ground police officers in this area and they let him go, not the FBI. All right, just my opinion. It's just my opinion. All right, Nick Sordor, LMAO. Kash Patel just trolled Democrat Dick Durbin in his Senate hearing today. Durbin, why was the July 7th memo left unsigned? Kash, would you have preferred I use AutoPen? So this hearing, the Democrats were trying to deflect a lot of the main reason why he was there, which was to, testify about the Charlie Kirk assassination and what's going on with that, their progress with the investigation. Of course, Democrats want to drag him in and try to drag him through the mud, try to discredit him, because Kash Patel is probably, so far, it seems to be, well, in my opinion, he's definitely the most transparent FBI director so far. He's going on news channels, and to me, it seems like he's doing a hell of a good job. But like I said, the Democrats, they're in free fall right now, and they know Kash Patel is one hell of an effective FBI director, so they're doing anything they can to try to discredit him, to try to get him kicked out of the FBI. So this, I'm assuming, is regarding the Jeffrey Epstein documents released. They did bring that up a lot, trying to change the subject. Most likely when they knew that they were failing as far as trying to dig up dirt with regard to the Charlie Kirk assassination. I mean, they would just be better off not even bringing that up in the first place, because it's as clear as freaking day. And it's unbelievable that we even have to make this argument that the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk while giving a speech on a college campus, a conservative Christian, was shot by a left-winger, not a right-winger, a left-winger. I mean, talk about living in clown world, but all right, anyway, here, let's give this a listen. It's real short. It's just 16 seconds.
Stating there is no incriminating client
I'm sorry,
list.
another loud one.
Why was this July 7th memorandum unsigned?
Would you prefer I've used AutoPen?
Oh, shit.
Well, why was it
The
unsigned?
memorandum had the insignia of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Oh, the
And
insignia. Okay. What, do you want an AutoPen or what? I think he's trying to suggest to Dick Durbin that he's a very busy man and there's a lot going on. And yeah, not each and every single document that goes through the FBI is signed by the FBI director himself. I don't know the inner workings of the FBI, so I'm assuming that having the FBI insignia on it probably would suffice. All right, Rapid Response 47. Must watch FBI Director Kash Patel bodies pencil neck Senator Adam Schiff. And of course, they throw out some quotes. So I'll just let this play out here.
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
not in the weeds.
What I am doing is
most-
protecting
the
this country,
most- the
providing
most
historic
significant
reform,
witness-
and
the most
combating the
significant witness,
weaponization of
the
intelligence
Epstein
by the
files
likes of you.
cover-up,
And we
who
have
gets
countlessly proven
Oh, shit.
you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and you
January
call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the
the
biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are
Wow.
a disgrace to this
This stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
Holy shit.
I'm not
He
surprised
is a
that
fucking
you
coward.
continue to lie
that
from
the-
your
the-
perch and put on a show
view
so you can go
of
raise
you
money for your
and for good
charade.
reason.
You are a political buffoon at best.
Fuck yeah, he is.
Take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. We are bringing historic reform.
Point of order.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
You said
take
I'm the
control
most
of this
transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of this
33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Oh my God! Holy shit! Oh my God! Yeah, he's the best FBI director I think we've had in probably my lifetime at the very least. Holy shit, dude! He would not stop, man. That is awesome, dude. God bless him, man. Because I think anybody else, as soon as they start banging that gavel, they usually STFU. But he just went on and on, dude. He fucking deserved that, man. Adam Schiff is such a piece of shit. He always has been. He's a fucking clown. He's an absolute pathological liar. He's a fucking psychopath. You can see the whites around his eyes when he's talking. That's a clear case he's a damn psychopath. All right. Anyway, that was a hell of a banger, man. All right. SG Anon, ICYMI. Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt delivers a passionate monologue at today's Senate hearing with FBI Director Kash Patel and highlights that the political violence in America is not organic, stating that the George Soros empire has financed a vast ecosystem of radicals all working together, dropping off bricks at riots. Listen, if you've been listening to me for the last couple of days, what did I mention? I think it was yesterday. I explained that it happened either in Austin or it might have been in Dallas back in 2020 during the summer, the whole summer of love bullshit with the George Floyd riots. There was people who had caught on camera this box truck, unmarked white box truck, that pulled up to an intersection at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they lowered an entire pallet of bricks, loose bricks, onto a pallet, onto that intersection street corner, right on the sidewalk, and they drove off at like 4:15 in the morning. And surprise, surprise, what happened later that day? A big, massive protest showed up then, and then all of a sudden, tons of bricks started getting thrown at cops because they staged it, they set it up there, and it's probably people like the George Soros guys who were doing this shit. So really appreciate that he brought this up.
Thousands upon thousands of people gleefully celebrating a father of two young children getting gunned down in broad daylight. I wish I wouldn't have seen that video. I wish my kids would not have seen that video.
Oh, yeah, man. You know, a lot of kids
Blue
saw
Sky,
that.
the left-wing alternative.
A lot of kids did because, you know, they're trying to keep kids under, what's the age now? Is it 15 or I know under 13 has always been the what Facebook at least claims that they're trying to keep kids under 13 off of the platform. But there are tons of teenagers under 18 years old that saw that video. There's no question about it. When they went to school the next day, you know, all these kids saw it. They saw the close-ups and everything. And frankly, I honestly didn't even think about that, but you know that happened. Like, if I was in middle school at the time, having a smartphone in my pocket, especially in high school, I mean, how could you not see that if you're in school? Everybody else is looking at it. So, yeah, I can imagine the millions of children that actually watched that happen to Charlie Kirk because they had it on their phone.
Alternative to X was so overwhelmed with these posts that the platform was forced to issue a statement warning its users to stop glorifying the murder.
Yeah,
And
Blue
it
Sky
wasn't just
did that.
it wasn't just random social media troll.
And you know what? I don't think Blue Sky did that because Blue Sky was appalled that people were celebrating it so heavily, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think Blue Sky released that because it was a warning to people celebrating that, hey, there's employers out here, tons of people getting fired. People are calling you out for all this shit. You might want to tone that down on here because, you know, you wouldn't want to lose your job. They didn't say that, but I know that's why they released that, giving them a warning that, you know, shit's happening to people who are celebrating over here. That's just my opinion, but I know that's why they did that.
It was journalists, elite college professors, and even politicians, all but saying Charlie's assassination was justified because of what he thought, because of what he said.
Absolutely.
We saw the flood of hit pieces, the most powerful media outlets in the nation dishonestly attacking and villainizing Charlie for the most vicious possible terms. How can you ask us to unite under that? There can be no unity between good and evil. Somebody has to win this thing. And as a country, we have to absolutely reject it. And don't tell me it's both sides. It didn't happen in a vacuum. Over the past decade, we've seen an explosion of political violence, not just one-off lone wolf attacks, but organized, systemic political violence at a mass scale. It is not organic.
It's on the left.
It is the offspring of a dark and clandestine system funded in part with our own tax dollars, winning with a large network of foundations, NGOs, activist organizations, and front groups. This system lurks behind every radical leftist movement in our nation today. The George Soros empire has financed a vast ecosystem of radicals, all working together, dropping off bricks at riots to unleash a tidal wave of violently anarchists on our streets and to prop it up in an army of researchers and experts and journalists and propagandists who downplay the political violence.
Well, I will say, oh shit, okay, it's over. So I will say though, what organizations like the Soros organization is going to say is, well, you can't prove that was us, and in large part you probably can't, because they they're not keeping records. Like you could probably trace a paper trail back to a pallet of bricks getting purchased. Maybe there is a way to get to the bottom of it, but for the most part, we don't know all of these activist organizations because they're being protected by the mainstream media and the radical left and the professors and everybody else, the overlords or whatever the fuck you want to call them, the establishment. They're trying to protect them so they don't get exposed, because they are the ones that are funneling tons of money into all of these riots and all of these protests that have been happening for years and years. But Democrats, they cannot possibly walk away from this. There is no way. Too many people have seen it. Charlie Kirk was killed in broad daylight, like in the middle of a weekday. And it went all over the place immediately. And the mainstream news, because it was an insanely hot topic to talk about, there's no way you can't talk about that, because everybody was. If the mainstream news was going to try to bury that Charlie Kirk was shot on that day, and if they just talked about whatever else was going on in the news, it wouldn't have made a difference. Everybody was sharing that all over the place. So there's no way they're going to be able to walk away from this. And the millions of people who saw what happened, it just makes me just wonder, what are the midterm elections really going to look like? Because obviously Republicans have plenty of ammunition against Democrats right now, and all they're going to try, the only thing they can try to do is try to say, well, he had Republican family members. Yeah, what extreme leftist doesn't? All these leftists, they all have Republican family members. Most of them probably have majority Republican family members. It's just the way it is. I mean, everybody's got Republicans in their family, maybe except a few minority who live in the deepest of deep blue cities. Maybe they might not have anybody on the right who's in their family, but the vast majority of people do. And it's, I don't know, man, it's going to be really interesting to see how that's going to play out over the next year or so. But of course, we would give it all back just for that to have never happened, man. That was too traumatizing for children to have seen happen right in front of his wife and kids. It's just the most horrible thing ever. And the fucking nerve for them to suggest that he was a right winger, or why don't we just get along, sing kumbaya? Well, how about we just all hold hands and admit that political violence must be stopped, which it won't, because Democrats are protecting the extremists on the left, and they're not going to do a damn thing to stop them. Otherwise, this guy who was given that speech talking about them dropping off piles of bricks, Democrats would have absolutely said 100%, we're going to go after all of these radical left-wing institutions who are funneling money into all of this, but they're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to change the fucking subject. That's all they're going to end up doing. Anyway, from Eric Schmidt, it's time to be honest about leftism. 25% of very liberal Americans say political violence can be justified. 55% of those on the left say it would be at least somewhat justified to kill Donald Trump. How can we come together with people like this? I don't think you can.
Already, we're hearing people talk about Charlie's assassination in those terms. We're told that we can't possibly know what drove a killer to plan and carry out a murder of the most prominent conservative activist in America. But that's a lie. We do know. The facts are plain and clear, and we have to speak truth in this moment, or there's no other side of the mountain. The vast majority of Americans are against political violence, but there is a vocal, active minority that encourages and celebrates it, and that minority is overwhelmingly on the left. Just last week, a YouGov poll found that a full 25% of those people who describe themselves as very liberal say it can be justified for citizens to use violence to achieve political goals. Less than 3% of very conservative Americans say the same. That's too many. That is 3% too many. But we are lying if we think that this is a both sides thing. It's not.
It ain't. Nope.
We have to confront it. And you're going to have an important job of rooting out these terrorists This is an ideology that runs very deep. The numbers are virtually identical to the ones I just noted when it comes to whether or not it's okay to celebrate the deaths of people whom we disagree with. And while large majorities in both parties were opposed to celebrating political violence, Democrats overall were nearly twice as likely as Republicans to believe that it is usually or always acceptable to celebrate the death of a
It's
public
more than
figure
twice.
they oppose.
Definitely more than twice.
What in the hell is going on?
No, somebody shared a poll somewhere saying that it wasn't 25%, it was more like 35% of Democrats justify it, or extreme liberals. I don't know, like not just your everyday Democrats, but the ones who are more extreme left, as opposed to those who identify themselves as like extreme conservative or as far right wing, I guess is you can reasonably get at. That was only 7%. I mean, that's not half. That's like a quarter of the amount. So I don't know. I'm sure that there's probably all kinds of different people who are asking those questions. It could have been just a public poll somewhere on X or something. Not the one that I read. I read from somewhere else. I think it was in some news article somewhere. But anyway.
Earlier this year, a poll found that more than 55% of people on the left believe that it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Donald Trump.
Insane.
These are not
people
just
are
some
brain dead.
abstractions on a page. These are our fellow citizens. How can we come together with people who believe these things? We've all seen the
I bet 55% of Democrat politicians also agree with that murdering Donald Trump is just simply justified. I bet maybe even more than 55%
over the past week. Not just a fringe few, but thousands upon thousands of people gleefully celebrating a father of two young children getting gunned down in broad daylight. I wish I wouldn't have seen that video. I wish my kids would not have seen that video. Blue Sky, the left-wing alternative to X, was so overwhelmed with these posts that the platform was forced to issue a statement.
Okay, all right, yeah, we got to that point. I knew that it would overlap just a little bit, or I had my suspicion that it did. So yeah, that was pretty much the point where he got into the one before. I actually should have flipped those two, but that's all right. So from Senate Judiciary Democrats update, Kash Patel lied under oath. He only cares about Donald Trump and erasing evidence of his crimes, not the American people. These people are fucking scumbags, man. Senate Judiciary Democrats, it sure looks like Kash Patel perjured himself before Congress. Kash Patel to Senator Booker, I'm not aware of any plans to punish or terminate FBI agents or personnel. I'm sure they're taking that extremely out of context. Not aware of doesn't mean yes or no. That's just one of those generic types of answers where they can, like, if they're not exactly sure, they can just simply say, I'm not aware of, and he's not perjuring himself at all. If he's not aware of it, he's not aware of it. So anyway, here, we'll just play this, or hold on, let me just click on this first and then go back. Sometimes X will play it in that little bitty little corner.
Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations? Yes or no?
I'm not aware of that,
Thank you.
Senator.
All right. Not aware of that. Of course, we don't have any other context. We don't know what he said before that or what he said after that. But they've already written this big-ass letter, I guess just based on those 10 seconds. But anyway, let's see. From Michael Horowitz, Dear Inspector General Horowitz, I've received highly credible information from multiple sources that Kash Patel has been personally directing the ongoing purge of career civil servants at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Well, yeah, they are. They're cleaning up the FBI. They are, because many of them have been politicized, and they have been politicized for a long time. Plus, 90% of people who work in Washington, D.C., who work for the federal government, 90% who vote, they vote Democrat. And a lot of them are pretty extreme these days, as most Democrats tend to be. So, yeah, if they're finding out that there's FBI agents who are politicizing certain issues, or they're choosing not to investigate this, or they're not doing a good enough job at doing that, then, yeah, I mean, that's the job of the FBI director. He should be weeding out all this shit. He really should be. And the 90% of those who vote, I'm sure he's not going to purge. Look, like 100% of government officials don't vote. I mean, a lot of them don't vote. I don't know what percentage of them do vote, but I just know 90% of them vote Democrat. We're not seeing like 20% of the FBI getting purged from the agency right now. At least not that I'm aware of. So, all right. So anyway, although Mr. Patel is President Trump's nominee to be FBI director, he is still a private citizen with no role in government. I understand that Mr. Patel's directives are being carried out through the concerted efforts of the White House Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Stephen Miller, Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bovee, and several members of a newly established FBI Director Advisory Team. The alleged misconduct is beyond the pale and must be investigated immediately. So pretty much anything Democrats are trying to do to just obstruct and stonewall, it's just the only page they have left in their playbook. That's all they have left. It's just to deny, to stonewall, to try to propagandize and make up shit. So not saying that's 100% false. Maybe there are a few people, maybe Kash Patel wasn't being 100% honest. I don't know, because I'm not in the FBI. I don't know the inner workings. I'm just seeing what you're seeing. So this is from townhall.com. This is the exchange with Cory Booker. It's 4 minutes long. Cory Booker accused FBI Director Kash Patel of being a failed leader. This might be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. Patel was having none of it. If the FBI under my 7-month leadership were failing, why do we have? And then he goes on to drop some insane statistics, insanely good statistics. All right, so let's give this a listen.
Mr. Patel, in
And
just
a watch
8
while we're
months,
at
you
it.
have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark.
Oh, yeah, but James Comey, he was just the stellar FBI director. He didn't do anything wrong, though, did he? No, of course James Comey didn't do anything bad.
No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe
They're scared of Director Patel because of how effective he is, because they know he's going to be very transparent, and they know that he's legitimately fighting for the American people and not for the establishment. And I don't believe that he's ever been a politician. I mean, like they just said in that letter that he's just a civil servant and hasn't worked in government. So I would assume that he's probably more on the side of the American people than anybody else, because I bet a lot of other people who were the FBI director, I'm sure many of them were probably in the bureaucracy for many, many years.
You're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to hand the bureau. But here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America,
hope.
Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose.
Ain't
This may
happening.
be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you.
Oh, bullshit, dude. You're a fucking atheist. I'm sure he is.
And defend your
Democrat.
Oath, defend the Constitution.
He worships
and do
the cult.
a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes, sir.
Fuck yeah, he does.
That rant.
Oh, man, he's going to
false
go.
information
All right, I'll shut up.
does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My
If you-
God.
If
You're
you
gonna
want to
lecture
talk
me
about,
dividing this country,
it is
I
my
follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this
to
country.
not take
It is
responsibility
my time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of
just
New
did.
Jersey tell me what my
You
time
tell-
is. You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you. sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning
Oh,
of
he's
this
so
meeting
emotional.
that this back and forth talking over
He needs to quit
each
taking all
other
that estrogen.
doesn't work. And I said if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond. And that's he has
Yeah,
the
just sit there,
privilege to do
sip your
that
fucking soy latte and shut the
uninterrupted.
fuck
Mr.
up.
Chairman, one point of
Go
order.
ahead, Mr.
I've
Patel.
watched him talk over us, and you've never once criticized him for us not even being able to get our questions out.
Well,
He has been rude and disrespectful to
Yeah,
senator
shut the fuck
after
up, man.
senator.
And when the senators were not giving him a chance to answer, I didn't stop the senator either. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Yeah,
If
shut the fuck up,
FBI,
dude.
Under my 7-month leadership, we're failing this administration in this country. Why do we have 23,000 violent felons arrested this year alone?
Oh.
a double increase from that time last year.
Yep.
Why is it that we have seized 6,000 weapons? Why have we found 1,500 child predators and arrested them? Why have we 300 human traffickers in jail? Why have we found and identified 4,700 children? Why have we seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to kill a third of the American public, a 25% increase alone from last year, 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, 700 kilograms of meth seized, and that's just on our criminal operations in summer heat. How is it possible that we're taking 8 kilograms off the streets of the cities in New Jersey and preventing the deaths of 607,000 people this year alone, a failure of the FBI and my leadership? How is it that we have counterintelligence arrests already this year exceeding the numbers from the entirety of last year? 33% increase in PRC, 83% in Russia, 60% in the CI space as it relates to Iran, and we haven't even talked about CT, the southern border, the northern border.
Oh my God, you mic fucking dropped, man. Oh, Senator Booker, you just got fucking spanked, bitch. All right, Senator Cory Booker, this is from him. Kash Patel has made our country less safe. He has put fealty to Trump over his sworn oath to the Constitution. Oh my God. All right, so I guess if he just goes on a rant, I don't know, I guess I'll just let it play, whatever.
Who are on the task force that fight against Russian oligarchs have not been reassigned. Public Correction Squad reassigned. People who defend us, defend children reassigned. You're not denying that. I've seen you time and time again attack my colleagues'
they don't get reassigned.
Questions as a way to not answer the question. So let me end with this. I believe you have made our country weaker and less safe.
I think we heard otherwise already.
Vulnerable to a major event, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. You've gutted the Bureau of Institutional Knowledge and Expertise.
Look, there's no way that any well, of course they're gonna deny it, but anybody who's got any reason of common sense that if not for the Democrats, this country would be a lot safer, a lot more secure, a lot more polite, and we would still have our strong nuclear family values. It would be a peaceful society if not for what the Democrats have been doing for, at minimum, for the last 10 years.
You fired or pushed out seasoned FBI officials, many with more than 20 years of experience, purging thousands of serious law enforcement officials who spent their careers keeping us safe, only to lower hiring standards in order to find anyone to replace them.
That's DEI, dumb fuck. That's not what Kash Patel's doing.
And shockingly, you admitted in this hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at your agency. Many are the result of your purge.
I'm sure a lot of it probably, I'm sure a lot of that has to do with probably Congress, probably stonewalling the FBI's ability to effectively go through their hiring process. Yeah, let me go ahead. I'm not sure where we were.
Standards in order to find anyone to replace them. And shockingly, you admitted in this hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at your agency. Many are the result of your purge. 20% of FBI agents are doing low-level immigration enforcement instead of their mission-critical work. You've disbanded entire...
But look, if they're so understaffed, then how are they able to go after all those operations like Summer Heat alone, and him going through those statistics, arresting tens of thousands of people and recovering thousands of missing children? How are they able to do that with such a severely understaffed FBI?
Task forces that stop election interference, foreign influence, public corruption. And who benefits
all under
from
Biden,
this?
I'm sure.
Corrupt people benefit from it. Criminals benefit from it. Vladimir Putin benefits from it.
Oh,
and
please do tell how.
It really makes me wonder who you're looking out for. It makes me think we can't trust you as a nation. You swear to release the Epstein files, but now you're withholding the Epstein files.
Hey, that I won't hold against him.
You have a suspect in a serious assassination. Whoops, then you don't have a suspect. You know nothing about plans to remove FBI agents, yet you're directly involved in those plans. In the words of an ex-FBI official, you are overseeing, and I quote, generational destruction of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. Mr. Patel, in just 8 months,
I haven't heard how.
The institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark.
These are all just conclusions without anything backing up what it is that he's concluding. There's nothing there.
Truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe you're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families.
That's really the best that he came up with. That's on his own, that's on his own X account. It's just a bunch of conclusions without any substance. There's like he's got like conclusive talking points, but he doesn't go into anything like Vladimir Putin. Of course, he's going to throw that out because that's all the Democrats are obsessed with talking about is Russia, Russia, Russia. It's been like 10 fucking years at this point, and they just can't stop talking about it. All right.